Hello and welcome back. In this episode I will put back the Jupiter. I did all the cleaning. I also polished all these rings. This is how they look now. So I got rid of all the pitting in the aluminium and I went for sort of a brushed aluminium look. And I used this. So this is a steel wire brush on the Dremel to get rid of the pitting, and initially that led to a very glossy finish. And then I used 320 sandpaper to make these lines, these brushed aluminium style lines. And the way you do that is simply take a piece of the sandpaper and rub it only one way, so you always go in one direction. After that I used steel wool. This is 00 I think, to give it a shine. And after that paint markers to repaint all the numbers and lines. They were still visible, but they look better now. Okay, so this is the aesthetical part. For the functioning part, I try to clean the helicoids as good as possible, and I also did some lapping. I will explain the lapping process in a different video. Probably the next video I'll post will be about lapping helicoids. It's not necessarily the best, so there's still some ruggedness to the movement, but I don't really think I can get rid of that. Maybe it has something to do with both helicoids being aluminium. I don't know. Anyhow, I will not insist anymore on this. I'll just make sure there are no metal shards or any kind of debris on the helicoids, because this is the first part to put back. Alright, and now I'm going to use some lubricant. This is an NSK white grease. It's probably lithium based, possibly with Teflon inside. And it's a quite soft grease. All right. Oh, and the optics is here. This was in fact the first thing that I put back. No, actually it's not this one. No, it is this one, because I didn't want any dust on it. I didn't open the aperture, so I just cleaned the lenses and put them back. this is my sign, and this is the other sign, the arrow shaped sign. These two have to align, and then this square edge has to somehow stop or get in contact with that limiting screw that will be placed next. And when that happens, there must be almost no gap between these two parts. So it all seems all right. I can replace the screws. Okay, that's one. And the other. Okay. This should be next. And that initial line, so this line is the zero, or I call it zero mark registration or something like that. So when the red line is aligned with the scratches on the barrel, this hole should align with that hole underneath it. Okay. This ring is next, and for this is the infinity position. Okay, so when the distance between this flange and this part of the ring is the smallest, that's the infinity. So it should be like this, and the holes have to be aligned. All right, so this is working nicely. Next step will be to add this ring. Now, since this ring is the actual lens mount and this is stationary, so it's fixed to the camera, and this one moves, that means automatically that there will be friction between this lens and the rest of the lens, this ring and the rest of the lens, since this one is sandwiched between the lens and this one. So I will also add some lubricant in this area, so the inside of this ring, as well as this groove that the screw rides on. And I also polished this side, although this has a more dull finish than this side. Actually, this one is smoother. All right. I'll use the same lubricant. If I go with anything thicker, it will add to the overall hardness of the focus throw. So lighter is better. Alright, that's the focusing part finished. And now, next to the actual optical block, so this is the optical block. The only issue is that I didn't use this for this ring, and I think I'll have to do that now. I'm going to mask everything around it so I don't get any dust inside. Alright, so this is the optical block. Yes, and the other problem is the fact that the white letterings or the white in the letters and numbers is almost gone. I usually clean everything with lighter fluid. Well, I ran out of lighter fluid, so I used alcohol. And apparently, the alcohol rubbed off the paint, both the black and the white paint. And since this surface is, I think, plastic, my usual technique for repainting is not working. So I think I'll need to buy some paint and perhaps an extremely fine paintbrush, and using my loops to actually hand paint each of these letters. There are grooves for each letter and each number, but the grooves are very shallow, so this is going to be a challenge. Unfortunately, well, it is what it is. All right. Next step is to add the aperture control ring, so this one. All right. So this one simply sits on top of this conical piece, and in this slot I need to put this ring, this screw that will engage in here, and then this control ring will open and close the aperture blades. All right. And I will also need to add lubricant on this one, because on one hand it will rub against this, and on the other hand, if it's not lubricated with some quite thick grease this time, the aperture ring will be extremely loose. this one is next. And finally the aperture ring. Okay. I don't know if you remember the actual little notches on this ring in which the three little screws must engage were right on the edge. So when I screwed in the screws now, I think at least one of the screws went too deep and engaged in the actual aperture housing beneath, so the ring was turning too hard and scratchy. Anyhow, it seems to be alright now. It's not ideal, but it will work. And if everything is set up correctly, after putting this spacer back, the two halves of the lens should align. So this is the spacer, and now, well, unfortunately my camera stopped, but I was almost done anyway. So I got this ring in position. Second try. The first try it was like 270 degrees out of position. Anyway, if you don't if you don't get it right the first time, just put the optical group back into the lens, screw it on, and see if they align. So right now it's wide open, the two should align with the red mark. It's not tightened yet, so it will be okay. In my first attempt, all the numbers on the aperture ring were on this side, so pretty much upside down. I just took it one, I call it one click because it has three screws, so one click is the next screwable position. And right now, wide open, the two aligns with the red line, and we have infinity and f2. So it's done. I'll need to see what I can do about the white markings on the front, but otherwise it looks really nice. And well, that's about it. Next episode will probably be about the helicoid lapping, and then I might as well do another one if it's different enough for the black variant of the Jupiter 8. It's the one that's more rhomboidal in shape. That's a bit different from this one. And for the time being, thank you. See you next time.